I'm about to talk to one of the startups in the AWS Generative AI Accelerator that is using generative AI to innovate in financial services. So now I'm going to talk to Base39 and their CEO and founder, Bruno. Tell everyone, what is Base39?
So Base39 was created to solve a problem in financial services that banks has a lot of data, like a really a lot of data. They know a lot of about anyone, but it's really hard to use this data to make it useful, to make sense of everything, to actually decide to offer a credit to you, to offer a next best product for you. So base 39, we use generative AI to interpret all the data. So this way they can understand what's happening behind without needing a human to look everything they have.
I can imagine there must be so much data that they have to look at. So I'd love to be able to see it so we can really get a sense of how you're using generative AI to help financial services companies.
Yeah, we have some companies that has like 34,000 columns.
Wow.
So think about taking a team to look to everything. So what we create here, it's a way to uh, ingest all the data and use AI to understand every aspect of that. So the first thing with generative AI is we need to have some context. So when we create a new project, actually, we need to decide to explain the AI what's important to the customer. So let's think about here a personal loans in project. We can describe what is a personal law and why we're creating that, but the real important thing is the objectives. How much needs to be the profitability of this fund? The bank needs to make a lot of money, so we need to describe here how much it needs to do. Like I need 20% year in ERR. It's a abbreviation for the return rate in June 24, or actually 25. This is enough to understand which what's going to be the goal for all the math that we're going to use here. So this is a really important way to easy way to set the goals. And when we create a project, we need to start importing all the data. And here, let's create a just a table called Loans. And Loans is pretty obvious, but we can actually tell a little more about the description. And the reason for that, it's like um, when we have a lot of data, need they don't know how to use that. So think about the user activity in the application, in your app. This is a really nice data, but what it means when we say about credit. And the other thing, like everyone thinks, well, the banks are using my social data for do that to decide my credit. I'm not sure if it's true because they have a lot of data they own, but think about all the data available in the world. So it's hard to add one new variable.
Yeah, and I'd love to understand more about in just this part of the application here. Are you already using generative AI? Like when someone puts in that objective or the description, is that a prompt to a large language model?
It's it's part of the prompt, but we are not yet asking anything for generative AI.
Ah,
We're going to the first step that we use generative AI. So when we create the table here, we need to start ingesting some data. So for demonstration purpose, I prepare some test data here. So the customers, they usually send using APIs. So this is what I'm going to replicate.
yeah. And while we're waiting that for the folks who are joining us, if you've got questions, you can post them in the chat. and we're going to be able to answer them also just in the chat as we're talking about this.
Yeah. So here we have like some sample data, and there's so many ways to structure our data in a database. This is like the bank's decision, and they have a lot of different things. So what's happening behind the scenes here? It's the generative AI is trying to understand what means each one of this data. This is a process called feature. It's a data catalog, like to understand what to do with each feature here. So this is a very nice way to use generative AI to actually understand what's happening here and start to like try to show the data in a better way. And the next thing that we can do here is to uh, offer some data providers. Like the bank, they have a lot of data, but usually there's some data provider that's very useful. They have like different kind of data, like for example, the last 10 years of address that you live. This is some kind of data that can be useful. So we can suggest some enrichment data here, and this is really unique way to enrich the data because the catalog is very we try to put all the data available in the world, and if you have a, a need for that, like to make something custom, we also can support that. But through the time, the generative AI try to start to suggest some data providers. Like with this one, we can make a better math behind and to help us to achieve or is your goal, like 20% in a year. So you need more data to do that. So this is a very important way to impart some data.
So all
And
those suggestions you were just showing us, they came out based on that earlier objective that you wrote of the increasing like 20% IRR. And so that would change if you had a different objective. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Like with some of this data, it's not enough to take 20%. Like there's no way to build a machine learning model for that if you don't have like the data. So here are like financial health indicators. So it's really important to have data providers, but it's hard to understand what is the input, what's the output for like 34,000 features. So this is it's a really unique capability of generative AI to understand like high volumes of data. Um,
There's already like a lot here that I can see that you've already built up to this point. I'd love to better understand like how you're using AWS.
so AWS, it's very important for us because Amazon Bedrock, there's some really nice models. And for us, it's very important to be, it's a safe environment. Like we're working with financial services, and as you can see, it's a lot of important data. Like I have your address, your phone number, your email. It's a lot of stuff. We actually sending out this data for our generative AI model. We don't want a provider that is training with everything here, and we we need something really safe and also really powerful. Like we have partnership with really the Anthropic is one of the partners with AWS, and for us is the best model that we can work with complex reasoning. This is it's a challenge, and the thing that people ask us is like, are you using generative AI to make math in financial services? And actually, is we we use generative AI to make sense of the number and not just doing the math. So this is how AWS is important for us. We have the data available in AWS and very powerful tools with Amazon Bedrock.
Wow, super cool. Okay, I'd love to see more. So I know you just showed us like we got those sources, you got the suggestions. So what happens next?
Yeah. So uh, it's very common to have you need to predict some data, and to do that we can help. It's really easy to predict a number, like just showing, like here we have some score, and as I told you, there's a lot of data providers that has scores, but it's very common to have like multiple scores and they make like the average between them. So here we can choose um, some target field, like I want to predict score. I just need to select here. I want to put a name like predict score. And which fields can I use for that? Like, let's say I'm going to use your birth date, your salary, your bonus salary is also important. This one is something that the traditional machine learning models, they in banks, they don't know how to use. So what it happens is that you'll have lower credit for you just because they don't know how to handle the data. Like, it's not fair. You're providing the data. They need to use that to offer the best product for you. And let's say the job role and the insurance here. So let's create a new model. Here we are training a model with the available data here. It's take a while to train a model, like 12 minutes. But I can show a little one here that it's already trained and
Wow.
predict scores here. So here we can see that the model can do all this stuff. But the thing is, we're not going to provide just a score. We need to make a decision for that. This is why we have like a better way to decide the flow here. So the economist, the analyst of the bank can decide here how much is the good score to approve. In this case, if the score is higher than 8, just approve. And here it's if it's between 4 and 8, we want to make a report. Here is where the generative AI really shines. The usually decision is just like approve or reject or manual review, and that's it. We can create a report telling what the customer really need to do to have the approval, and it's really good for the bank. Like, the banks want to borrow the money, but they need to be they need to trust that. And in order to do a really good report, we need to understand all the data. And as I told you, there's like 34,000 fields. It's a lot of things. And we need a new thing to help generative AI to handle that. Because only one uh, low application, what is going to happen behind the scene is that
Wow.
the magic behind generative AI, really useful, we really understand, is the graphs. Knowledge graph, it's a much better way to organize the data when you have like a lot of connections. So here we can see that, uh, let's open one here. We
And
can
so these
see
are like
all
the people that we just saw in that table are now represented in this knowledge graph.
exactly. Actually, it's not all the people in the table. This is the data
Oh,
for only one. So it's almost 8,000 nodes.
wow.
This is this is a thing that we can do only with knowledge graphs. This is almost impossible to handle in a regular database. And the generative AI needs a way to understand what to do. So what GraphHags does is we have like one node here, and the generative AI knows that everything around here it's important, and then it's go way more and more and more. This is GraphHag. It's a it's a game changer for us because it's the only way to handle off this data.
This is amazing. I'd love to understand how the AWS generative AI accelerator has helped you as a startup.
Like it's a really new technology, so we have a lot to learn. And as a startup, we need to move really fast. So it's amazing that we can chat with the people that are actually building it. Uh, this is to have contact with the AWS engineers, solutions architectures, and the NVIDIA team was really important for us. Like we're dealing with a lot of data here.
Really cool. Wow. All right. So now they've looked at it from the graph, and then from that graph, what do they do?
So the thing is, in the decision flow, we decide that all the manual status should create a report. And here we have the report. So it's like a summary. Of course, this is not
Wow.
real data, but uh, here we have like a summary of what analyst needs to look at here. And think about how many data that this customer provide and how other activities that could happen in different places of your app. And here we have like a summary. And the real question that our users usually say is what he can do to get approval. This is like a simple question, but this is the thing that if you have a
Wow.
loan application rejected, you're always asking, what can I do to have this money? I really need that. So if you provide more data, we can actually make like a financial plan that's how you can improve your score and have uh, your money in the lower improved. So it's possible to create like multiple reports. Our customers, they usually create a internal report and also one for the customer that they can say like send through a email telling the decision, because it's very frustrating to just have a no. We want to go beyond that.
It's so cool. All of this that you really built. So this you're using generative AI here from the assistant. It looks like there's generative AI that's actually creating the report, and then you're also using generative AI in creating that graph to be able to have link the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. To create a graph, it's very complex process for a person start to doing all the connections, all the nodes. Think about it's 8,000 nodes just for one application. So without generative AI, very powerful models, it could be possible. This is what it's it's the base of base 39 actually, and we it's only possible to exist this kind of product with this technology. It could be possible in 3 or 5 years ago. So it's a unique technology, and we really want to see more customers using because the results is amazing.
This is so cool. I love how you're incorporating generative AI throughout your entire product to help your customers. So where can people go if they want to learn more about Base 39?
Yeah, you can access our websites, base39.com.br. And we also want to show to everyone how powerful is GraphHag. So we prepare some demo to show the difference between the traditional hag and the GraphHag.
Super cool. Wow. Bruno, thank you so much for being here today and showing us what it is that everyone on your team has built at Base 39.
Yeah, thank you.